Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for taking time out to join us today for this Year in Infrastructure introductory session about Business Collaborator. Now, we're really excited to have you here with us today, and our goal is to ensure that you leave us today fired up about all of the possibilities that Bentley are now able to bring to you as a result of their recent acquisition of Group BC. But before we begin, we should briefly introduce ourselves and also a little bit about our users. My name is Stephen Crompton, and I, along with my colleague Sanjeev Shah, who also joins with me today, founded Group BC a long time ago. As some would put it, when the internet was in black and white. And it's fair to say we've seen something of a transformation since we first had that realization back in the 90s now, that this thing called the World Wide Web would not only be here to stay, but would offer a new foundation for organizations to collaborate as teams together. Now, looking around us today as we thankfully connect globally through our screens, it seems almost unthinkable that only fairly recently we were as disconnected as we were. But we were disconnected, and this led us to create Business Collaborator and ultimately to find a natural home for ourselves within the construction sector. And it's been our privilege as we've grown over the last 2 decades to support this sector in its digital transformation, progressing from tentative first steps around simple folder sharing, now to joined up supply chains, communicating, delivering, and maintaining structured asset data in line with emerging standards. All of which brings us to today. But just to explain more and to begin, Sanj, why don't you first give us an overview, please, of our users and how they get value out of Business Collaborator?
So although this conference is titled Year in Infrastructure, I think it's really important to state that we work on projects and assets from small scale, such as a 2-bedroom a flat, a housing complex, similar to those projects that one of our users, Wienerberger, is using the Business Collaborator Common Data Environment for, to slightly larger projects, campus-based university projects, such as those where Birmingham University are involved, and indeed mixed-use master plan schemes which involve the combination of commercial, residential, leisure, retail, and infrastructure, such as one of the great projects we're working on with British Land down in Canada Water in London, a £3 billion programme. Moving beyond that, nationally distributed properties, such as the projects we're doing with Sainsbury's. Hopefully we'll see a little bit more of that later on in this presentation. But the key needs there are they have geographically dispersed properties and projects and assets, and they need to be able to connect all that information together in a digital state, and we're delighted to have delivered a great solution for our user there. And speaking with about retail spaces, we have an organisation that's managing their global retail facilities in airports and in train stations across the whole globe, offering all of their global users instant access to the single source of truth in our common data environment. Airports, in fact, are very interesting for us as well, because not only are they're retail spaces and shopping centres, some would call Heathrow Airport one of the largest shopping centres in the UK, but they can involve commercial buildings, properties, and infrastructure combined. So as well as Heathrow Airport, Birmingham Airport are using the Business Collaborator Common Data Environment for their expansion programme, and we're also delighted and proud to be working on what will be the world's largest airport once it's delivered, 5 new runways, 250 million passengers travelling through it. And it's a great example of the benefits that the Business Collaborator Common Data Environment can provide. But as well as buildings, we work on a number of national scale projects, national scale infrastructure projects, such as those that we're delivering to High Speed 2, Europe's largest infrastructure project, and the Smart Motorways programme for Highways England. And again, we'll see a little bit more about those later. I'm conscious, however, that all I've really spoken about so far in terms of our users are our asset owner operators users, and I'm sure you'll agree, household names that we are very proud of as having as users of our technologies today. But we do a lot, and we've got a lot of gratitude to owe to our tier one EPCs, likes of Sir Robert McAlpine and Balfour Beatty, and especially Balfour Beatty, been using the system for over 20 years now. Got a significant amount of information on their systems with thousands of users using the system daily across a myriad of projects. So yes, it's a great offering for small projects, large projects, city-sized projects, and even national-scale projects. And but why? Why is a business collaborator a great solution? We understand that a one-size-fits-all product isn't going to cut it for many of our users because they have variance in the way they run their projects. They need the system to adapt to some of their way of working, their processes, their workflows, their naming conventions, and we've got to be able to provide a mechanism of being able to fit our technologies to our users. And that's what makes BC so great. But for many of our users, it's a journey where they can start with an off-the-shelf product, be up and running within 24 hours, and not only be up and running in 24 hours, be up and running to an ISO 19650 compliant and aligned solution as using our BC projects edition of the Common Data Environment.
As Sanj says, for many users, their first experience of Business Collaborator will be with our single project CDE offering. Now, this is an offering that's been tailored and templated to meet the specific needs of the increasingly adopted international standard ISO 19650, a standard for construction information management, which is already mandated on public projects in the UK and increasingly asked for globally. Now, this standardized implementation of Business Collaborator helps users get up to speed quickly with the standard and ensures that all information provided by the supply chain meets the client coding necessary to ensure that it can be quickly and easily retrieved at any time and passes through the necessary workflows to ensure that any information is unambiguous in its purpose and is only used by the supply chain for the reasons intended. The interface is designed to be immediately familiar for easy supplier onboarding with workflows themselves mimicking the simplicity of email while ensuring at the same time that all information is captured and controlled centrally. Well, usage of our standard single project CDE delivers value through helping suppliers ensure ISO compliance. The use of a CDE across multiple projects and programs yields far more, eliminating the need for users to reinvent the wheel on projects each time and to benefit from being able to pre-configure client-specific project templates, which then deliver consistency in information retrieval, reporting, and audit. Using the same simple interface as you saw before, but this time able to be flexed to meet the information needs of multiple clients. The supplier CDE offers suppliers a level of configurability far beyond the single project offering, signposting the user information through a selection of portlets and also big buttons that an interface can be flexed to meet specific supplier needs and which are responsive to usage, whether in the office or whether using a mobile device in the field. Now, this combined with the ability to define and use any number of online contract communications linked to relevant project information, delivers a persistent, fully auditable and searchable information record, which of course can be invaluable in the event of any future claims. Historically, clients have been happy to have suppliers provide a common data environment for them. But over the last few years, more and more clients have recognized the importance of having their own CDE, not only to ensure that they always maintain access to the latest in development project information, especially important in the event of supplier insolvency, but ultimately also to maintain a constantly updated record of their own asset information, which can then be used to answer questions about their estate more quickly and more accurately, supporting business decisions. They can also, through having their own client CDE, ensure that their asset information requirements are properly communicated and validate that the information being delivered in response to those requirements by suppliers meets their needs up front. Now, in this example of a client CDE, we see how Business Collaborator is able to represent not just a window onto the programs and projects which are being undertaken at any time, but also how these directly relate to any affected assets. The CDE is able to do this because it can reflect the client's asset breakdown structure, allowing end users to find information about and related to each asset through the same simple interface signposts we've seen in the other videos, and then, if permitted, drill down into each asset to see any of the related projects which are being undertaken, and which ultimately, once information has gone through appropriate workflows, will result in the updating of the asset information and subsequently that being used to update asset management systems.
Our asset owner users benefit from both using the common data environment to clearly communicate to their supply chain what information they require to be delivered, when that information should be delivered, which roles on the project should be delivered in what form. And as soon as it hits the system, and we make the capturing of that information incredibly simple for the supply chain, it literally is as simple as just dragging and dropping that onto the homepage, and the system will work out what that information is to do with, which projects, it'll file it in the right locations. It will do clever things like extract the metadata from the file names, but not only just extract the metadata, saving double entry duplication errors, but it will validate the metadata. Is it within the permitted ranges? It will then trigger workflows so that information can be communicated to those individuals that are responsible for checking it, reviewing it, releasing and approving it for a particular purpose, its suitability, what its status is, so that when people access this information, they can clearly see what it's fit for. And that way the information can be fully trusted for its particular intended purpose.
So the final example we're going to look at here now is that of an emerging new use of common data environments, which we label a top hat CDE. Ultimately, this is a recognition that as well as that information being delivered through common data environments such as Business Collaborator, there exist myriad other records of information that are also capturing information potentially around project controls, around health and safety, around geospatial information, and so forth. But fundamentally, at any given time, the ask is for the same, and that is for people to be able to ask questions of that delivered information and get answers back. But far too often that information is spread among lots of different systems. Users don't necessarily have access to those systems, and even when they do, the information is in different formats and not all aligned to the same standards. So the notion of a top hat CDE is to provide not so much a single source of truth, but a single view of truth onto that information, allowing a user to navigate in the most intuitive way possible, and using the geographical interface of the asset to then be able to access all of those associated windows of information that are held within those other systems, but bringing together it in one combined interface where that information is not only available, but has also been already validated as being appropriate for consumption by those users to ensure that the right decisions are made on the basis of that at any given time.
In a top hat CDE approach, we are solving significant issues for our users. It's not acceptable for our users just to compromise the project by using one system which may not be designed to be the best solution for a particular part of a project. So with a top hat CDE, our users can continue to use their specialist systems which create specialist content And we know that information is going to be stored and managed in silos. And the problem we're solving here is allowing that information to be surfaced so it can be accessed just from one system. And this is really important because our research has shown us that 80% of people's time when looking for information can be wasted. And when that information is stored in multiple silos, that's no surprise. But even if, and you don't have to, but even if everyone was just using one system to store and manage that information, we've still got to make it possible to allow our users to get to that information through their view of the world. In high-speed 2's top hat common data environment, you can clearly see that we've organized information in a very neat way so that users that need to access information through its chainage can do so. Users that perhaps are looking for contracts information go to the contracts area, or if you're a subject matter expert in viaducts or bridges, you just type in a term and it will find you all that information, irrespective of whether it's in the asset hub, the project hub, the program hub, it will surface it. And the reason we can do it, and we can do it so quickly, is the way we manage information in the common data environment. We manage it in what we call what is called heterarchies, and that essentially means that content information can be owned by more than one parent. And because it can be owned by more than one parent, we can provide access to that information through the user's view of the world, and that's very powerful. One of the quickest ways our users tell us to get to the information, however, is through a geographical user interface. And we can see here through a quick zoom and a single click, instant access to related information. Information in high-speed 2's environment, which has actually come from their asset information management system, which is currently running on an application using an Oracle database. The maps you can see federated in real time from Esri ArcGIS. The documents and the models are coming from AssetWise, and soon they'll be coming from ProjectWise. So you can see there's a clear integration of information in a seamless way to give users instant access and provide a mechanism to go from macro right down to micro, to the tiniest component of that information in models or via a virtual reality experience, as you just saw. But can we go the other way around? Can we go from micro to macro? So here in Highways England's digital twin, you can see that a user is zoomed in, they've identified a single tiny component, which is an active traffic monitor camera, and they've set some parameters to try and understand, to get the information as to when it was installed, because their task might be to identify all similar cameras that were installed on the same date or prior to that, because the program, the next job might be to replace all of those or with brand new ones. And very quickly you can just zoom out of the map, a little bit like TripAdvisor. It will automatically show you where those cameras with those parameters exist, and the list on the left hand side, which you can export into an Excel spreadsheet or other purposes, is provided to those users, instantly matching the parameters that have been chosen. So you've seen two examples of a top hat CDE where users have gone from macro right down to micro, and then from micro back up again to macro, and that information they're collecting and looking at has come from a multitude of sources. And because we're able to get our hands on all that information in one platform, we're now able to run analytics across it and provide our users with instant access to their KPIs, so these can be easily monitored, either at a summary level, as you're seeing here in Highways England, or if you're specifically interested in financials or risks or the information delivery plan and want to track where that information is, has it been delivered, there are dashboards for that as well. And so these are just some of the clear benefits of a top hat CD, and we're incredibly excited that we've delivered some great solutions for this, and we've got some great opportunities that we're currently working on with others. But these systems are here today, and I'm sure there's many of you that need similar solutions. So please do get in contact, and we will talk you through how we can get you started. But ultimately, it will be a journey starting from what you saw in that very simple, out of the box ISO 19650 version of Business Collaborators Common Data Environment. So hopefully everyone can see Business Collaborator is a fantastic common data environment that can be used at multiple scales and can start with the common data environment at any point, depending on where your maturity levels are in your digital transformation. So straight with BC projects out of the box, all the way up to a top hat CD solution. But Steve, perhaps you can talk a little bit about what it means for a Group BC, for Business Collaborator, now that we're part of Bentley Systems family.
So I think being part of Bentley, ultimately for Business Collaborator, means two things, both of which are extremely positive. I mean, if we look firstly purely from a commercial point of view, then hopefully, through this short time, everyone has been able to see what a fantastic offering we have in Business Collaborator, and what value it's being able to deliver now to our users. But what, Sanj, you and I have always wanted to do is just simply deliver that same level of value to as many users as possible. And that requires reach, that requires global reach, if you will. And that's something that now, being part of Bentley, provides to us, and that's a fantastically exciting opportunity. And then secondly, if we look at it from a product point of view, we are very, very lucky to be here in Bentley and surrounded by a fantastic portfolio of products that fully complement the story of information management and common data environments as we drive information through the life cycle. And we've always taken an approach of whether we build something ourselves or whether we partner with other technology. And here we find ourselves in a position of being able to do just that, and not any old technology, but in fact it's already the case today, as you know, that our products are being used together, albeit manually, to solve different parts of the information management problem. And being in a position now to be able to, move those users from those manual workflows to a far more joined up, seamless experience is something that I'm looking forward to, and indeed started that journey, as we developed the other exciting product, which we are not going to be able to talk about today, but which there is a session about in our talks, which is Business Collaborator Sync, whose purpose is to join together different records of information, different common data environments, and being in a position now to be able to leverage that self-same technology to bring together different products within the Bentley portfolio, I think is a very exciting place to be in.
So it just remains to say, because we're out of time now, thank you so much for joining us. We really look forward to hearing from you again, and happy to talk about what we can do in terms of next steps. Just as a reminder, an obvious next step is maybe to have a detailed look at some of the additional sessions that we've got coming up for you with for more information and product demonstrations of the Business Collaborator Common Data Environment. And here are a list of those. So enjoy those, and I'll just say thank you from me, Steve.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining us. We do really, really appreciate it. And hopefully, when we next speak, some of you out there will have joined the journey and will be able to refer to you as users. Thank you.